Chamber Exchange, a TV show. My name is Tim Murray, President and CEO of the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce. And Chamber Exchange, a TV show, is brought to you by our sponsor, Fallon Health. And we want to wish all of you, our viewers, a very happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and just a great holiday season. And I also want to wish that to my guests, who I'm going to have on both the first segment, and Sue, you're going to stay on, and we'll talk on the second segment. But Sue Mailman, who is the president of Coghlin Electrical Contractors, and Tim Garvin, who is the president and CEO of United Way of Central Mass.
Thank you.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
So this is, can I just say this is great to be with the two Tims, my favorite two Tims. Don't tell my brother that I said that. But this is, I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, well, Sue, you know, Coghlin, fourth generation company here in Worcester and in central Massachusetts, and we're going to have a chance to talk about that. But in this segment, you know, we'll talk about United Way, and Coghlin family, the company over the years has been very involved with United Way. And I think just, you know, why is United Way so important to you as a company, as an individual, and for all of us here in Central Mass?
So I think when I probably first started having to be in charge of the company campaign when 2 or 3 years after I started working at Coughlin's, and the more I got involved and the more years I was involved, it is the only thing we solicit for. It is so local that I think that's what appeals to me, that I can tell my employees, whether they're on jobs in Worcester or they're in jobs in Boston or New York, that United Way is going to the communities where people live. And that just resonated with me, Tim. And I think that my grandfather was a chair of the board. My Uncle Jim was a chair of the board. They chaired the campaign. Somebody talked me into that. I did it with my cousin Jim as well.
Right. And you were the chair of the board. Don't forget
and I
that.
chaired the board, actually, when he came along, right? Or right after that.
9 years ago.
And I just think to me, United Way is in many ways it's the convener, it's the keeper of the social service sector in Worcester, and I think he does great work. I think Tim is a great spokesperson for Worcester, and I'm glad that we hired him.
So a social safety net for people and programs of all ages. And Tim, you know, with Sue, I wanted to start off the question of Sue, because I think it's something we hear from so many chamber member businesses who are, you know, big supporters of the chamber, is that United Way is unique. It touches all aspects. It's local. You know, United Way Central Mass is just that. It's focused on Central Mass. You know, for our viewers who might not be as familiar with United Way, you know, exactly what is it?
Sure.
How long has it existed?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. And I think it's perfect that we're on a show that's sponsored by Fallon, which is one of our biggest supporters, and by the Chamber. We run 185 campaigns. I think all 185 are Chamber members. And I hope they are, because I think that speaks to both what the Chamber does and what the United Way do. We unite our communities. So the United Way is a very simple equation. We've been around for 96 years. We were started by many of the founding fathers or grandfathers or mothers or grandmothers of Worcester. Every fall we solicit, we ask companies if we can come in and if we can run a campaign. If we can ask the company to make time available where their individual employees will have the opportunity to consider donating. We will ask about 75,000 people over 185 companies. Last year, about 11,000 said yes. That 11,000, from a 5-year-old at Tatnick Magnet School who probably gave $1 to corporate leaders who give hundreds of thousands of dollars, raised about $5.5 million. Once the campaign really slows down, and we run campaigns anytime anybody wants, we also then put out a request for proposals. We focus on two things: safety net, exactly as you said, and then creating community change. How do we build systems that are going to allow everybody to have more opportunity? Within safety net, we focus on food insecurity and hunger and food. We focus on emergency services, we focus on protective services, and we focus on housing. 4 staples that the three of us probably don't think too much about, but if I know you properly, when you were first out of school, you were a housing officer and saw the need.
Housing church worker, yeah, a lot of families, just an ability to live day to day, week to week, not making the rent, paying the bills, yeah.
So, and it's not just housing. And if they have that issue, they probably have an issue of food, and they probably have an issue of employment, and it's how it all comes together. In the Creating Community Change, we focused on what we think of as the 3 building blocks. Quality education, and we look for increasing the 4-year graduation rate. And I was thrilled recently You may have seen that Burncoat Elementary went from a level 4 to a level 3 school, and I think that's, again, testament to our entire community coming together saying, we want to own our schools and make sure every child has an opportunity, and that includes the business community. Please understand that. So it's education, it's family stability, and family stability is jobs and earned income tax credit and emergency food and shelter program, and then it's also, for us, it's health, and we focused on childhood obesity and access to health for kids especially, and how those things come together. We put about 45 partner agency grants into the community that total millions of dollars. We look for metrics and outcomes. We love things like Youth Connect, a collaboration of 7 youth development agencies that take care of our teens especially, and with the issues that of the past summer, how do we create more opportunity for teens to be engaged with positive role models, people like the two of you, so that they're going to have an aspirational goal rather than get off track and think that gangs or violence or drugs are a better way.
So for our viewers,
Yep.
You mentioned those 45. When people think of, virtually every organization out that's in the city and working in the space, whether it be working with young people, working on educational pieces,
Or senior housing.
One city, one library.
Absolutely.
The Boys and Girls Club. You're out there helping fund so many important programs. That you're the conduit.
And Tim, thank you for saying that. And I would say right back
I'm using that electrical word. That was
I would
Right,
use
right.
both of you as perfect examples. First of all, I have to publicly say thank you to each of you individually and personally for your donations, leadership and de Tocqueville donations. That's extremely important. Thank you for opening up your organization and your business so that we can run campaigns there. And also, thanks to you. You and I last week were at the opening of Jumpstart.
Right, yeah.
You brought some people together. We put some funding towards it. There are 33 students at Worcester State working in 5 early education agencies, all that we fund, creating a literacy boost so that when kids get to school, they're going to be on grade level. But how perfect that, again, Worcester, for me, isn't just the heart of the Commonwealth. It's where collaboration happens.
And that's the other thing, it's collaboration. If people need to work together, in this political environment, people say they're going to do it, I, me. Nothing gets done with I and me. It's we working together. And with the United Way funding, you're able to help facilitate that collaboration among groups and organizations to address common goals. And so much of, I think, what you fund is just that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I would also say, and the same is true for the person who wants to donate. We probably have 4,000 people who give $1 a week, $52 a year. Now that $1 a week, if a $50 donation went to any of those agencies you just mentioned, that's nice, but it's not a difference maker. But when you put it together with 11,000 other people and it becomes $5.5 million, and for the Youth Connect collaboration, we give $560,000 to them, that's all of a sudden a real big difference maker. And that's the collaboration of the donors getting together through the United Way and making grants.
Right. We've got just a couple minutes left in this first segment. If viewers out there, an individual wants to make a donation, how do they do it? If there's a business out there that says, okay, I'd love to have someone from the United Way come in and just explain to me and my
Absolutely.
employees how they can contribute, a little bit out of their pay each week,
Or even just to learn.
Yeah.
Because, and Tim, thank you for asking that and opening up the opportunity. When we run a campaign, it's as much about educating people, and we tell them about Mass 211, and we tell them about family-wise prescription help, and then we tell them about the agencies that are partners that we support. And what we find at most places when we're speaking to an audience of 200 or 300 people, that people will come up and say, I never thought I was going to need United Way services, but my mother got ill and she's now getting Meals on Wheels delivered in her home so that she can stay with the dignity of her independent housing. We fund that. And so we want to educate everybody. If anybody wants to find out, we have a great website, www.unitedwaycm, that stands for Central Massachusetts.org. They can call me directly. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. We follow you on everything. We thank you for following us back.
Well, as so many of our chamber member businesses are active participants, and I think it's just another way that the business community recognizes that you got to invest back in the community, and United Way is just really one of those key ways to do it.
Thank you.
Good.
We agree.